This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome everyone. We'll start our session in 1 more minute. Okay, I hope I'm audible. Let me share my screen. Let's start our session. Can you guys confirm I'm audible? Can you guys confirm? Yeah, great. Let's wait for 2 more minutes. Let's wait. Let's see other people join. Okay. Meanwhile, let me introduce myself. So myself, Harish Appana. So I was working as a cloud and DevOps engineer from the past 5 years. Okay, I'm going to take this DevOps with Azure Cloud Course. Okay, let's wait for 2 more minutes. Let's other people join. We'll start our session in 2 more minutes. Yeah, very good morning. I hope everyone is from India or US, isn't it? Can you guys confirm your location? Yes, yes, Samir. We'll discuss everything related how to start with the DevOps and what are the prerequisites to learn DevOps. Everything we are going to discuss in this demo. Okay, so don't worry. Every topic, if please ask me the questions in the chat box. I will answer each and every question. Okay, great. Okay, let's start our session. As I said, myself Harish Apna, I was working as a cloud and DevOps engineer from the past 5 years in the product-based company called Siren. Okay, and I'm going to take this course with Azure DevOps with Azure Cloud. And I was a Microsoft certified trainer and certified Azure expert and DevOps expert. Okay, now let's start our demo class. Now, before jumping to the what is a DevOps and what is the role of the DevOps engineer and how should you learn that, let's take 100 feet overview of software development. Okay, what exactly the software development means and what they do and what are the different roles in the software development. Okay, and how the DevOps is helping this software development life cycle. Okay, let's understand that. In a high level, every company, every IT company requires a software, right? Requires a software. Just a second, guys. Okay, every company requires a software. Now, that software is nothing but a program, right? Is nothing but a program, right? Now, in order to write that program, first they have to analyze that requirement in the first step, and they have to design. They have to design and define all the architectures of that applications, and they have to code it. Then they have to test their application, and they have to deploy their application, and they have to continuously monitor the application. This is what in a software development lifecycle happens. Now, if you see here, if you go in depth, we have a different roles, guys. Different roles like a product manager, delivery manager, software engineer, tester, development team like operational team, and a monitor team. Okay, we have different roles and they have different responsibilities, right? Now here our concern is two teams. One is developer team, developer team, and one is operational team. Let's understand the different teams. Mainly these two teams, developer teams and operational teams. Okay, a developer team will written code, will write code, guys. Code is nothing but a program using programming languages like Python, Java, .NET, JavaScript, and so on. So basically they gather the requirements from the business and they create the program. Okay, sometimes they call it as a feature or some bug fixes, anything. They will return it. Coming to the operational teams, they will host the application, guys. They will host the application in the server. Why? What is the purpose of this hosting? To access the users from the internet. So users will able to access your application from the internet. That is why they host in a server. Okay, this is in, guys. Okay, I will explain the one by one doubts, guys. So if you have any doubts, please ping me in the chat box. I will explain that. Okay. Okay. Now we have two teams, as I said, developers and operations. Now the problem here is these two teams are the two different roles, guys. Two different roles. Now here when it comes to the developer, their role is to write program, nothing but coding. Okay, like Java, JavaScript, Python, .NET, and so on. Okay, they will mainly work on programming languages, programming languages, testing frameworks, and the databases and storages. Databases and storages. This is their skill set. Now, when it's come to the operational team, they will deploy the application. So this can be done manually, taking the code and deploying it in the server, or automation. Anything is fine. Now their skill set is Linux mostly, and scripting like bash scripting. Okay, now they have the different roles and different responsibilities, and their skill set is different. Now in generally what is happening here, once that program or whatever the program is writing, the developers, they have to send it to the operational team. They have to make it as a package, application code, and send it to the developers team. Now this operational team will deploy in the server. So as a user from the internet, can I able to access this application? Now as of now, fine, everything is fine. Okay. Now the problem here is when the new feature is comes. So let's say developers add new feature. Let's say they added a new feature in Python programming. In the same way, they will send this package to the operational team, and the operational team deployed it in the same way. Now here we have one issue. Okay, so what is that issue? So here he added the new feature using Python, right? So while deploying also, that they required Python runtime. Python runtime. So if the developers told how to deploy the application, that is well and good. But what if they don't tell? Some misconfiguration will be happen, and the app will be down for some time. The app will not work for some time. That is called downtime. Downtime. Now this downtime can be comes for any reason, like a huge traffic, like while updating the application, while deploying the application, or else if the resource, the server is not sufficient for the application. Now these many issues will comes if they have two different teams working with their own responsibilities. Now this is where, to handle this problem, to manage the communication between the developer teams and operational teams, we have DevOps engineer. DevOps engineer. A DevOps engineer will act as a mediator between the developers and operational teams. Okay, now what exactly DevOps means? Is that a software or a tool? What does it mean, a DevOps? DevOps is nothing but a practice, guys. A set of practices. A set of practices. We'll explain one by one. We'll deep into the DevOps in a minute. Meanwhile, let me explain the roles and responsibilities of a DevOps so that you will get more clarity. A DevOps engineer will take the code, whatever the code written by the developers, and he need to handle that deployment smoothly. Take that code, test that code, deploy that code, monitor the code. Simple. This is what a DevOps engineer will do on a high level. Okay, now let me explain. Let's deep into this DevOps concept. Now you see this infinite symbol, right? So you may already seen this symbol, but you don't know exactly what does it mean. Okay, let me explain each and every step. As I said, we have in the software development cycle, it starts from the planning, right? So if you see this diagram, it doesn't have any stop or ending. See, it is keep looping infinite times. Infinite times. See, this is a very important symbol, guys. This is how a software development works. It doesn't have any stop or it doesn't have any start. It will do continuously. If you take application like Facebook application or a WhatsApp application, so let's say they want to add the feature. Will that means the application will stop for some time? No, right? The every step will be continuous, infinite times. They have to, in the first place, they have to plan their feature and they have to create it. So basically, a developers will code it and they have to test it and they have to package it. Package is nothing but a build file. Okay, we'll talk about it one by one. And once the build is ready, they are going to the upstream, as I said, and there they kill it as a release like 1.2.0 or 2.8.1, like they call it as a release. So they take that package and they configure it in their server. They configure it in the server. Now these configurations can be like main setting up the environment with the correct runtime, with the correct environment variables, with the setting with the databases and so on. Then they will continuously monitor. They will continuously monitor. If something goes wrong, then they will send the continuous feedback to the team. Continuous feedback to the team, and they will again, based on their feedback, they will again add their feature or fix the bugs and so on. Again, the cycle, this infinite cycle will keep rotating, will keeps goes on infinite times. Now as a DevOps engineer, you have to make sure that this process will not be stopped, and you have to make sure there will be the smooth transition between the developer teams and operational teams. That's it. That's what a DevOps engineer will do. And let me answer the few questions. So you may ask me, sir, programming language, is it necessary? Is coding is necessary for DevOps? The answer is no, you don't require. As I said, if you take this cycle, we have already different teams and each teams will have their each roles. Here the coding will be done by developer teams. So what languages, what are the tools you want to learn? We'll explain in a minute. Okay, now let me go back to the chat box if you have any doubts. Yes, one by one I will explain, Praveen. Don't worry. One by one I will go to that curriculum so that you will get the answers. Yeah, here the one question, sir. He's saying, I am from the MBA backgrounds and I want to settle in the IT. So without any prerequisites, can they learn DevOps? Absolutely, absolutely. So the DevOps, the prerequisites is nothing but a operating system and a Linux, guys. So what we are going to do, we have the two modules to enter into this DevOps. So if you see the module 2, we have the Linux operating systems. In the module 3, we have the computer networks. So this is the most important and the prerequisite class. So we have a detailed session on these two modules, two topics, so that if when you are not from the computer background, so that you can get the DevOps job. Okay, one by one we are going to cover. Okay, is it fine, Samir? Okay, one by one we're going to talk. Yeah, I will explain the testing frameworks. Great. If you have any doubts, please ping me in the chat box. Let me continue. Okay, you got the what exactly a DevOps engineer will do, right? Now, in order to make it the smooth transition between the DevOps development teams and operational teams, we have certain practices like building tools, CI/CD pipelines, or packaging like Docker, orchestration like Kubernetes, and monitoring like Prometheus. Okay, there are some 10 to 15 tools that we are going to learn here. Let me explain those tools. And one more thing, these tools, we have the different versions, different types of the version. If you take the Kubernetes, it's a orchestration tool. Okay, now in the same way we have other tools as well, like Docker Compose. Now the question is, do you need to learn all the tools? The answer is no, because we will pick the most used tools in certain stages. In every step, what are the most used tools by the organization? We'll take that and we are going to explain it, and we will do the hands-on. And one more thing, this will be the 3 months course, guys. So we'll start from the scratch. Even if you are not non-IT background, it's fine. We'll come from the scratch, and we will have total hundreds of 100 hours of hands-on learning class. So we are going to learn these technologies in application oriented way, which means we have an application developed, as I said, developers develop the code, right? In the same way, we have already set up a project with the code, and we are going to learn this DevOps using that project. So this will be the project oriented course. We will do total 20 plus real-time projects so that you can take that project and showcase in your resume. Okay, and this is the job oriented program. So you have resume building sessions, mock interviews, and job notifications, everything. So make sure you utilize this course. And recordings will be the lifetime access. So once you join the course, you will get the recordings for the lifetime. Okay, now I will come back to this page once again. Meanwhile, let me go to the curriculum. Let me explain that. So we divided this course into the 16 modules. Each module will explain each stage in DevOps. Okay, in the first module itself, it's for the introduction to the DevOps. So here we will learn the differences between the traditional software development versus DevOps, and the different roles and responsibilities in the DevOps, and as I said, different methodologies in DevOps. Okay, in the module 2, as I said previously, we will start from the scratch. You don't require any technical knowledge before entering into this course. We'll start from the scratch, from the operating system, what exactly operating system is, and some of you are already familiar with Windows, so we will start with the Linux, which is the most important and most used operating system in our current world. So we'll start from the scratch, from what is a Linux, how to set up the Linux in your laptop, and how to work with the commands, and how to work with the package manager, how to create a servers on it, and so on. Then computer networking. So basically this is the backbone of the cloud and DevOps, guys. So if you are new, or if you're already software engineer, or you have already proficient, you already know the importance of computer networking. So before entering to the DevOps or the cloud, you have to understand what is a computer networking is. like OSA model, TCP IP model, and subnets, IP addressing, and so on. Okay, now once again, now we are also learning cloud as well with in detail. Now when it's come to the cloud, you can achieve 3 certificates from the cloud: Azure 900, 104, and 204. We are going to train for these certifications as well. So if you take this course, so basically this is a DevOps with the Azure Cloud, guys. So you can achieve the DevOps certifications from the DApps, and you can train for the Microsoft certifications in a single go. Okay. Now in the module 4, this is where actually DevOps concepts comes into the picture. We'll start from the Git. So basically this will a version control system. So basically this is where the developers will use to control their source code. So in order to make that automation, make the smooth transition between the developers and the operations, you have to learn Git. So basically Git tells you how to manage your application code. Git's going to manage each and every line of your application code. Okay, so whenever a new feature is added to your code base, you should have to deploy your application in a server. So that is where the Git comes into the picture. Okay, so we will start from the scratch. What is a Git, and what is a branches, what is a repos, what is a pull request, what is a merge request, pull, push, everything. Then package manager. And there will be some doubts for some students. So which language you need to understand in order to learn DevOps? You don't need to understand the languages first of all, but you have to understand how to build that programming language. So let's say you take Python. Python built using pip. If you take Node.js, Node.js will build using npm. If you take Java, Java will build using Maven. Okay, based on the programming languages, this build tools will different, but the throughput, whatever the build file will come, will be remain same. Either zip file, war file, DLL files. So that will be your package. So in the module 5, we will understand what is a package manager is and how to integrate with our DevOps pipeline in order to make automation. Okay, and we will see how to publish a artifact, how to test it, and how to publish it. Okay, in the module 6, we will learn about GitHub, and GitHub is a mandatory for any software role. So basically this will be the cloud based Git, guys. Cloud based Git. So in order to save somewhere your application code, GitHub will give you the place to host your application, to place your application, and to make collaboration with other developers. Okay, it's like an online repository where you can store your application code. Okay, so this is the most used and mostly used cloud based Git repository. So we will take the GitHub from this. Okay, yeah, this is where the main concepts of DevOps comes into the picture. Docker, containers, most important and in demand skills, guys. These are most in demand skills: Docker and container. Okay, so what are those? So in traditionally, we will take the application code and we will build it and we will deploy it in the server. We will write the code and we will build it and we will deploy it in a server. But here we have a problem. So developers will work on a separate environment, right? There can be works on the Windows or Mac OS, right? When they run this application in their local, it may works. It works. But when he build and send it to your the operational team, and operational team, let's say they use Unix or same Windows with different configurations. In that case, the application may not works. Some misconfigurations, some dependency issues, and so on. So this will be the biggest problem, guys. This is the biggest problem. This will be the before containers comes into the picture. But the containers is going to solve this. How? Containers will build this code in a single package. In a single package. Like they have this container, they have this application code, dependencies, packages, everything in a single file. In a single file. In DevOps terminologies, we call it as an image. Image. Now developers will test it in their local. If it is works, it can works in any environment. A container is an environment agnostic, which means it doesn't depend on the any of the environment. So they will take this package and deploy it in the server as well. It will be works as is without any misconfigurations. So we will see how to build this Docker and how to deploy it in the server. Okay. Now in the next module, we will see Jenkins, how to automate the DevOps pipeline from the building to testing and deploying, configuring, monitoring. All this can be done using CI/CD pipelines. So we will take Jenkins, and Jenkins is the open source and most used tool when it comes to the CI/CD pipelines. If you take that, if you learn this single Jenkins, you can take this knowledge and learn Azure DevOps or Octopus Deploy, anything. So every software comes in order to, in CI/CD pipelines will be built using Jenkins. So we will start from this Jenkins. Okay. And then module 9. So whatever we learned so far, we are going to implement in the cloud. Don't worry if you don't know about cloud. We'll start from the scratch. What is a cloud computing is, what is IaaS server is, what is a Microsoft Azure, what is a virtual machine, networking, VMs, storages, how to automate them, and we'll see the database service, IAM service, Kubernetes service, and so on. And we will spend more time on Azure because in our recent times, the companies are looking for the DevOps with the cloud, guys. DevOps with the cloud, not just a basic understanding of the cloud. They require the in detail knowledge on the cloud. So we will spend more time on the module 9. So in order to cover all the concepts in the cloud, so that you can crack both DevOps interviews and the cloud interviews. Understand, guys? Understood? Yes, certifications is available, and real-time project is also available. So I will show you the projects in a bit. So what are the projects we are going to learn? Okay. Yeah. Now this is about module 9. So If you don't know about anything about cloud, don't worry. We will cover each and every topic from the scratch. Okay. Until 10. This is the most favorites and most difficult topic in the DevOps, which is Kubernetes. So what does it mean? So let me tell an example. Let me explain the Kubernetes in a simple way. Okay. So previously I told you that developers will take the code and deploy it in the server, right? Now, I said in the previous module, we talk about containers. Containers, right? Now, in the real world, sometimes we have 10 to hundreds of containers. Each container will deploy each microservice. Microservice. So don't worry if you don't know about microservices. We have a separate session on the microservices as well. Okay. So think like each container will host each feature. Let's say we have a application called WhatsApp. Let's say we have a WhatsApp application. Okay. So in this WhatsApp application, we have features like chat is a one feature, status is a one feature, calling is a one feature, and let's say video call is a one feature, and we have something called updates, right? Updates is a one feature, settings is a one feature, and so on. Let's take this six feature. Now what WhatsApp will do is it will divide it into the six microservices. Six microservices. And in order to deploy it, they make a connection between them in order to talk to each other. Now they will develop using containers. Using containers. Okay? Using containers. So that they can deploy it in anywhere without any misconfiguration issues. Great. As of now, great. But what is Kubernetes? Kubernetes will going to manage these containers. Kubernetes is going to manage these containers. In technical term, Kubernetes will orchestrate containers like managing, creating, deleting, scaling. Okay, so these will be the tasks of the Kubernetes. This is the 100-feet overview of the Kubernetes. But we are going to in-depth knowledge, guys, in-depth knowledge of what is a Kubernetes, how to work with a Kubernetes from the scratch. This is the most in-demand skills, guys. You can check in any job portfolio. Kubernetes is the most in-demand skill right now. We'll spend more time on the Kubernetes in the module 10 in order to get the more knowledge from it. Okay. Then Helm charts. Helm charts is nothing but a easy way to manage, easy way to create the Kubernetes clusters, guys. Easy way to manage Kubernetes files. Nothing but we'll learn the Kubernetes. Okay, but in order to make it simplify, we will learn Helm charts as well. Okay, Helm charts again. This is an open source tool which helps us to create Kubernetes files in an easy way. We'll talk about it. And then Kubernetes on Azure. So most of the companies are moving into the cloud, right? So they have to set up their Kubernetes in the cloud. So what we are going to learn, we will learn Kubernetes on Azure, which is also called AKS. So basically underlying software. So basically we have Kubernetes layer with all the softwares related to the Kubernetes and the workloads. Nothing but in nodes. Now AKS, what will do? It will manage these nodes and we are going to deploy our application here. So you will more understand once you learn the cloud as well in the 9th module. So once we cover the Azure separately and Kubernetes separately, in the module 12 we will learn the Kubernetes, and in the final as a project we are going to deploy it using Jenkins. Okay, we'll talk about projects in a last slide. Then Terraform. So basically Terraform is an infrastructure as a tool, guys. So till now we are talking about infrastructure like cloud, like Jenkins, like Docker, Kubernetes, right? Now how can you automate this provision? Using Terraform, which is infrastructure as a code tool, guys. Infrastructure as a code tool. Okay, then we'll talk about Python. Sir, you told me about, sir, you don't require a programming language, so why are we learning Python? So we are learning Python not for coding, guys. We are learning for scripting. So Python is the most easiest language to write the scripts. So Dharma apna, the sir will going to take this course. So he is one of the best mentor in our current field. So he is going to take this course for Python module. Okay, then module 15, which is Ansible. So you will deploy your resources, but you have one more step, right, in the DevOps, which is configurations with suits for the our application. So we will use Ansible in order to make that configuration. Okay, now in the final module we have nothing but Prometheus, which is the monitoring tool to help us to monitor the servers, applications, logs, alerts, and so on. Total 16 modules. Any doubts in the modules, guys? Let me go to the projects. So if you have any doubts, you can ask me now. So here we have one doubt. Let me go to that. So which certifications and real-time projects is available? Yes, as I said, you can achieve the certifications from the Azure, which is Azure 900, 104 and 204. We'll guide you, we'll teach you how to achieve those certifications. Yes, and the next question is this useful for the experienced candidates or the freshers? So what will be the current salary expectations from the DevOps? So salaries will depends on the companies, guys. So if you take the product based companies like Amazon, Google, they will gives you from 120k to 200k, so based on your performance in the interview. But if you take the Indian companies, you will get 10 LPA to 16 LPA. Okay, and DevOps will be used for the both experienced candidates, because if you are developers already working, or a software engineers, or a testers, or a database administrators, anyone, if you are interested in the DevOps, so you will make this skill and you can showcase in your project, so you will be most critical resource in your project. Okay, because every organizations are moving into the DevOps principles in order to make this smooth transition to the production. Okay, here the one more questions. Are you sure you are about complete all these modules in the 3 months? Yes. So every day we have a class, guys, Monday to Friday. So total we will have 100 plus content. So we will not waste any time. So we will learn all these modules in an application oriented way, means project oriented way. So we will take the projects and we will implement those skills and we'll learn the tools. So we are going to complete both projects and these tools on time. Don't worry about the timings and everything. We are going to cover. What is the timings? Let me tell you in a minute. Let me go to the projects. So coming to the projects, so we have total 20 plus projects. In each step we have different skills, right? So if you take GitHub, just a second guys. Yeah, so in every step we are going to do one project. So if you take GitHub acts something called GitHub actions. Okay, so these GitHub actions will gives you the basic CI/CD pipelines, but completely for free. So we will start from the basics, and if you are hosting your application in the GitHub, we will see how to set up the GitHub actions to automate the deployment to your server. Okay, then Jenkins. As I said, as a DevOps engineer, you don't have to worry about the programming languages, but you should know how to build that programming languages. So in order to do that, we have three different projects. So you can see implementation of continuous integration pipeline for Java application using Jenkins, Node.js application using Jenkins, and .NET application using Jenkins. So you can take this knowledge in your resume so that interviewer will know you will have the experience in these programming languages while deploying it. Okay, then we will go to the Azure and automation skills. So we will learn Azure, right? There we are going to automate it. First we will automate using Terraform, which is the most used tool. Then we will use ARM templates. So ARM templates is nothing but a JSON format. So basically owned by Azure itself. So we are learn this one as well. And when it comes to the Azure, as I said previously, we are going to achieve AZ900 certification, AZ900, AZ104, and AZ204. We'll spend more time on the cloud. Okay, we'll spend the more time on the cloud. We have the dedicated session on the Azure so that you can do both DevOps and the cloud in a single go. Okay, then we will move for the Azure and the Jenkins projects. So basically here we will automate using CI/CD pipelines of Azure resources deployment. Okay, so here if you can see, we will use Azure, Terraform, and Jenkins to create a automation pipeline. In the same way, we will use ARM templates to make this deployment. Then we'll use Java application to deploy in Azure VMs using Jenkins pipeline. In the same way, we'll use for .NET application to deploy in Azure web app this time using Jenkins pipelines. Okay, you can see that we will cover all the tools, whatever we learn in the projects, we learn in the modules, we are going to cover in the projects. And we have in the Docker, we have again 3 projects. So we are going to containerize our microservices using Docker for Java application, for Node.js application, and .NET application. Then we are going to deploy it using Kubernetes, using Docker Compose, and then Minikube, then Azure using Jenkins, and we'll set up a Ingress Nginx controller. So this will be, you will be known after take that course. This is most important skill in the Kubernetes environment. Okay, and then in the Helm charts we are going to build and deploy the microservices using Helm charts and Prometheus to monitor the setup, how to set up the Prometheus, how to make the alerts, and so on. Then Ansible. So we will set up our environment for the Java application separately and the Node.js application separately. So this will be the real-time projects, guys. So whatever the companies are using, how companies are set up in, this is the projects you are required. If you learn, if you do these projects, this is a well and enough for your any type of companies, any type of interviews, for to crack both cloud jobs and DevOps jobs. Okay. If you have any doubts in the curriculum, you can ask me. Let me answer the questions here. So the timings will be the 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. morning. 7:30 to 8:30. Now only Python will required. When it's come to the programming languages, Python is required, and Dharma sir is going to take over these Python classes, and he is one of the best in the current market. So please utilize this Python module. So even if you don't know anything about the programming languages or IT, you can learn from the scratch. We are going to teach you. Okay, any other doubts, guys? So if you are, let me ping you these details. So after this class, you get these PDF so that you can go to the curriculum. And to register this course, WhatsApp this number. WhatsApp this number, guys. Please WhatsApp this number. So you can join the course. Okay, any other doubts, guys? Any other doubts? Please ping in the chat box. You can ask the admin team, Dharma sir. So for the cost related things. Okay. The timings will be 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. and you are going to learn complete DevOps and complete Azure Cloud, including certifications. Okay. Seven 30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Azure will be the cloud. I mean, Azure is nothing but Microsoft Cloud. So basically, companies are moving to the on-premises to the cloud. So in order to get rid of these all the development things, you have to learn cloud. 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Okay. Any other doubts? Please utilize this time, guys. If you have any doubts, you can ask me now. Yes, we'll send you the messages. Okay, don't worry if you don't know what is the Azure is. Please join the course. We will explain what is Azure is. So basically, it is a cloud. So basically, what the cloud providers will do is they will give you the servers for rent in order to host your application. Okay, Azure is one of the cloud owned by Microsoft. Okay, sure. Let me explain the cloud. So if you don't know about cloud, let me explain. Let me take 2 more minutes to explain the cloud. Okay, so you'll get more knowledge and more details about the importance of the cloud. Okay, please bear with me, guys. So let me explain the cloud is. So basically, we have applications, right? So we have application code. Developers write their code. This is the program. Now what they will do, they will test it and it will work in their laptop, right? Generally laptop. But the applications like YouTube, YouTube and WhatsApp, Google. So what are the applications are running? What are the applications we are using internet? Using internet. So let's say you are pinging google.com. What is happening here? Google write their code and they deploy it in a server. They deploy it in a server. This is a server. A server is nothing but a hardware computer. Hardware computer. Now they will take this code and deploy it here. And from as a user, when I search for the google.com, the request will send to the this server and I will get the response back. I will get the response back. This is what a server do. A server do. Now a server previously 2 decades ago, when we don't have any cloud, a server has to manage, which means they have to buy their server and they have to configure these servers in their own data centers. In their own data centers. Every company has their own data centers. Okay. Now here we have some drawbacks. What are those? Here you have to buy that server in order to host the application. You have to buy the server in order to host the application. And if you have a more traffic to your application, you have to scale it. You have to buy one more server. You have to buy one more server. This is called scaling. But if you are going for the data centers, this scaling will take time and cost. Will take time, more time to deploy the one more server, and will have more cost to buy that. To resolve these issues, we have something called cloud. Cloud. What does it do? So it's nothing but a server, but we are taking for a rent. We are taking for this as a rent. So let's say you have a company. Now let's take the same scenario. You have an organization, you have an application, you written this using the code. Now instead of maintaining a data center, a physical server, this time you will take the rent from cloud providers. Same server, but this time you will take for rent. Instead of buying, you take for the rent. And you deploy your application. And users, when they hit your URL like google.com, the request will send to this server and they will get the response back. Now this server is going to maintain by cloud providers. Cloud providers like Azure, AWS, GCP, Google Cloud Platform. Okay, this is about cloud. Understood, Praveen? Yes, Praveen, do you understand? Okay, great. So Manoj, I think Majusha, we have morning sessions, so we don't have any evening sessions for now, as of now. So we have only morning sessions. Okay, what is the differences between Azure and AWS? Let me tell you, let me explain. So basically we have total three main competitors when it comes to the cloud market. One is Azure, AWS comes from Amazon, and we have GCP from Google Cloud. Okay, these are the three main cloud providers in the market. As I said, Azure is owned by Microsoft, AWS is owned by Amazon, GCP is owned by Google. Okay, each companies has their own data centers. Okay, and when it's come to the market share, if you compare the last 2 years, Azure has 32% of market share and okay growth, and AWS has 33% of market share, and GCP has around 8% of market share. 8% of market share. Now you can choose any AWS or Azure. So these two has more demand and more market for that. And why we choose Azure? AWS has lots of resources already. So AWS is from 2016. It has its cloud platforms. But when it's come to the Azure, it is started in 2009 and it has less resources and more demand. Azure has more demand, guys. And when it has a partner with OpenAI and ChatGPT, then from the last 1 year, Azure has more demand. So that is why we choose Azure. Okay, if you learn the Azure, you will have the more demand. That is what my concern. Okay. So here the one more question: is it simply acts as an interface between the user and the application? Yes, technically yes, correct. So instead of acting as an interface, we call it as an environment. Okay, environment to host the application. Okay, got it, Samir? Yeah, great. Any other doubts, guys? Any other doubts regarding the DevOps, career related issues, how to get the company calls, interview calls? And once you take the course, you will get the everything related to the project, codes, PDFs, materials, recordings, everything, so that you can just showcase the projects in your resume. So you can take that into your Git repositories and showcase yourself, so that you will be stand out with others in the interview calls or resume listing. Okay, we have a separate sessions on mock interviews and resume building classes in order to make you the ready for the interviews. Okay, any other doubts, guys? Any other doubts in the curriculum? So if you make a certifications, you will resume has more weightage, okay, compared to others. So that is why we're stressing about certifications. So in the current market, we have lots of competition, right? So in the IT field, so if you make certifications, you will get more weightage to your resume. So that is why we are going to train you from the certification perspective as well. After the class, you will get the PDFs related to the classes and recordings as well for the lifetime access. We are going to cover each and every topic in the DevOps and the cloud in the span of 3 months. So don't worry about the timings and everything. We are going to cover it. We will not waste any time, any of your time. Just come to the classes and just prepare what we are saying. That's it. In 3 months, you are going to crack the DevOps roles and cloud roles. Any other doubts, guys? Yes, you will get your syllabus and recording as well. Okay, so don't worry. Just you have already member of these DApps community, right? So you will get the recordings. Don't worry about that. Okay, just ping Dharma sir in the WhatsApp to this number. Let me ping that number. So please ping this number through WhatsApp. So he can share the syllabus, this recording, and the cost. Okay. Yes, Praveen, cost Dharma sir will take care of that. So ping this number. So WhatsApp this number, just make it a hi. Okay. Any other doubts, guys? Any other doubts related to your career, the syllabus, the tools we are going to use?